Welcome to DJNTV and Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. Now introducing the one and only Ben Stowe.
Yeah, baby! Yeah. Good evening and welcome to tonight's show on DJNTV. Tonight we're going to be going into the library and learning about all of those books that Ben wished he would have read as a child but didn't get to.
I actually read a lot of books as a child. I don't read much anymore. I read a lot on my phone, but I don't read books. I read a lot of books as a kid. I need to do that again. I miss that.
That's one of those things that before we went on, we talked about a lot of things before we go on the show, and we were talking about things that this time has given us the opportunity to do. And it's interesting is that reading has been something that I've always done, but it seems like in the last couple of years, it's just been less and less. And I blame it on Netflix. Because people start talking about, did you see the new season of da-da-da-da-da? And it's like, oh my gosh, I got to watch. Or maybe I would blame Disney, but I've been watching Star Wars stuff on Disney. So seriously, that can't count.
I watch a lot of documentaries too, but I watch a lot of Netflix. I mean, we took a kind of a romp down memory lane with some 80s sitcoms, Quantum Leap and Alf. We've been binge watching NCIS, but of course, I mean, I don't know. I'm all over the map. I'm all over the TV. But no, I used to read. Sometimes I would read a book or two a night as a kid, and I hadn't really thought about that till you just said that. I thought, yeah, you're right. I used to read a lot. I don't read much anymore.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we have opportunities to do things, whether it's that or other, and that's what we've got to take advantage of those things. I just put a link in for those of you watching out on Facebook or Twitch or anything to that effect. If you want to go into the main chat that's on the YouTube feed, and I just put that into the comment section so you can join us there. We also, of course, have our DJNTV Insider area that is still open, and you guys can join that to get into the educational content right now for free. So you can use this time for learning. That's out at djntv.com/help. That'll propagate the password in there. So you can just go sign up and you are in to our djntvtraining.com information. Okay. There, I think I've got that business stuff down.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, good job.
So let's talk about tools Ben Stowe can't live without. And I'll preface this because what got me to thinking about this topic is that as we're doing things around the house and as we're doing projects, I'm like, okay, where's my lineman's pliers? Kids are like, I don't know. It's like, seriously, I'm not starting this project until I have my pair of pliers.
I'm glad you prefaced it. It's too late for me to change because I went and kind of rounded them up. But I will say, I have various toolboxes. I have my fly box, which is basically a toolbox. You've seen it, I think,
Yep.
the toolbox that I fly with.
Yep.
And it's, just under the limit for the airlines and about an ounce. And my limit now is 70 pounds. So, imagine carrying that thing through an airport. But those, I mean, you have to obviously, kind of somebody has to get voted off the island. You say what's going in this box and what's not. So that box really, I think, represents the essential tools for flying and for the jobs that I'm going to when I'm flying. But then I have a few little things in my backpack, which also, of course, go with me. But then I have my tools here at home, which would be more home improvement. And it's really situational. For example, I have a PEX cutter that I probably will use twice in my life. Obviously, it doesn't make the I can't live without, but it sure is handy when you're cutting PEX.
It does, yes.
Same with the PEX crimper that goes right with it. I hope I don't have to crimp any more PEX in this house ever again. But if I do, I have the tool. So I took to heart when you said essential, and I thought about it from the context of what I normally do in this industry.
Excellent.
So that is kind of where, and I've got my collection here laid out next to me.
Nice. Let's jump into it.
The other problem I had was your title says 10, and it's kind of like choosing your favorite children because I have, and this is probably not an exaggeration, I have hundreds of tools I can't live without. Yeah, I think you can relate.
That's true.
So to pick 10, I just want to say, viewers, there's one tool that's not in this list, and I feel like it should be. So I may just have to mention it, but I I don't know how I decided I couldn't live without it or could live without it. So I guess let's just jump into it.
Let's do it.
So
okay, hang on. Before the tool that Ben didn't have, but he's going to mention, we're going to do that one at the end. I want you guys to guess in the chat room either you can guess what the tool is or maybe of what it can do.
Sure. And process of elimination, as we go on through the show, you'll find out if I say it or don't say it.
So yes, let's see. And if we can
throw a prize out there for somebody.
I was going to say, if we get somebody who gets it, we'll
find something for you.
We'll find something.
I'll buy an ice cream cone when we're allowed to congregate again. We'll meet in Texas because you can do it there.
And no Gus is saying it depends with naming the tool that no, that's not it.
I mean, it does depend though. It depends on what you're doing.
The task, yeah, okay, but it is. But it's still the tool that's not here. Yes,
so as I look at this collection of tools I've got to my right here, and some of them people might also say are not tools. And I do have 2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
And the reason I made them honorable mentions is because I have another tool that does what both of them do, just not in the same way or as efficiently as they do.
Okay.
So I thought, well, I could live without them as long as I have this other tool. So I tried here. I'm going to start. And these are not ranked in order, but I feel like I'm going to try a little bit to rank them for you. So I'm going to start with screwdrivers.
Nice.
Because 99% of the stuff I do, you wouldn't believe this. Electronics, gosh, imagine any scenario, touring, whatever. It seems like, if you're going to fix something, you have to get into it. And 99% of the time, things I'm going to fix start with a screwdriver. Mm-hmm. So, and end with a screwdriver.
So I noticed you grabbed a couple of multi-tip screwdrivers, and there's times where I love the multi-tip, and there's times where I don't like them, just because they don't seem to be quite as durable. Right.
Yeah, and you can see these are well worn, very very beat up and scratched up. Some viewers might also notice that they're plasticky. They're insulated. So if I do something really stupid and I stick the screwdriver onto something that's a live part, meaning it's energized, I don't become energized. So I really like these screwdrivers. Actually, the favorite screwdrivers that I ever got, I picked up when I was working in Tokyo, and they have kind of a pear-shaped handle, tremendous dexterity, and they were really awesome. I managed to lose one. I think somebody helped me lose it. But they're also not they're not insulated. So these are the ones that go with me all the time.
Excellent.
And this is another honorable mention tool because it's the same. It's also a screwdriver, but I can't take those screwdrivers in my backpack. But I do have this little multi-tool that has screwdriver tips in it that I do take in my backpack. And it also has various, you can see various bolt head sizes, like hex bolt.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even looking at that part of it. I was looking at the
sizes there. And by the way, you'll also notice it looks a lot like a throwing star. So you can bet every time TSA says, and, they always say, we're looking for something. We're looking for something. And I said, yeah, it's in the outside pocket on the very bottom. It looks like a throwing star. They're like, yeah, we're not supposed to tell you that, but that's it. I said, oh, I know. I've played this game before.
Not my first rodeo.
But it is acceptable as long as it's not a throwing star, which it's not. So that does go with me everywhere I go. I think this is a good number 2. You've got your lineman's pliers. I've got my diagonal cutters. A good rugged, and these are strong enough and sharp enough that I can even cut wire rope, like aircraft cable.
Oh, wow.
And I can cut it cleanly, so I can, make assemblies and swedge it and that sort of thing. So a good wire cutter. And I've in my toolbox, I've actually got 2 sets. I've got my good set, and then I've got a cheaper set for things that I don't want to risk damaging my good set on. It's like, what, I was going to, so these, I think these are about $40 or 40, maybe $50. I don't know, but you know what? They are tremendous. Love them. Love them. A man and his tools. It's a beautiful thing, right?
His wire cutters.
And now we're sort of straying into the less I'm just going to keep going on the hand tools theme here,
Yeah.
but we're no longer really at a prioritization at this point. I think those are the two that if you had to have me narrow it down to two, those would be the two, and the screwdrivers only count as one. So, a good set of wire strippers, and these will go all the way down to 26 gauge. So they go down to a very small wire, which is really important. I carry two of these. I carry two different sizes, but to be able to go down to something really small is nice. So I can even strip 24 gauge solid copper like a Cat 5 cable, if I need to. And you might say, well, why would you need to do that? Wouldn't you just crimp a RJ45 end on? Yeah, sometimes, but sometimes it's going into a Phoenix block or something where I need bare copper. So, it depends, right? The RJ45 crimper did not make the list. But again, it would depend on what I'm doing. But I thought, well, if I have to pick 10, it got voted off the island. So did the
Phil, your guess is now no longer valid. Phil,
well, sorry.
On Facebook,
well, I didn't say it doesn't get honorable mention.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been the one it should have been, or you could have had here, but you didn't because you would have, you wouldn't have just.
Well, I have it. I have a couple of them. They didn't make the top 10, so that's all I'm going to say. Yeah. All right, moving on. This will probably surprise nobody. I don't know if it's a tool, but it's my list, so I say it is. But what will probably not surprise anybody is that it was actually on my bedstand, next to a couple books, a Star Wars book and a book about Tesla. And what do you suppose is also on my bedstand? Gaff tape. Now, time out. Hold it.
Yeah,
my sex life is not that exciting. If you're thinking about that's not what it's for. Okay. Honestly, I don't know why I have gaff tape in my bedstand, but you know what? This is me we're talking about. If this was any other person in any other show, that might sound weird, but let's be honest. Gaff tape on Ben Stowe's bedstand is not that weird. So,
ironically, I think you're right.
That's what I'm saying. You just never know when you're gonna need gaff tape. So, and of course, it's NLFX gaff tape. It's good gaff tape. Yeah, I don't know why it's there, but it's handy, and I keep it there. So,
and that took out the about half of the guesses so far of what. And for those of you who are just joining us, where there's one tool that Ben does not have with that he was borderline of being there for this, and we're trying to guess what that is. So,
yeah, and I'm already rethinking this, but I'm committed to my 10. But you can see why I struggled with this. Mm-hmm. I'm already rethinking it, but we're just going to keep going with this. I'm going to stick with hand tools, and then we'll move into electronics here a little bit.
Sounds good.
Tape measure. Yep. This one's cool too. It's got a magnetic part on the end, so it sticks to ferrous things, that sort of thing. But yep, I mean, what's the old saying? Measure once, cut 6 times or 7 times.
I believe that was 6 or 7. I don't remember, but whenever I do it, I make sure I cut enough.
Yeah. So tape measure, I think, is another one of those essential things. I'm just going to go with things that are closest to me. So I don't know. Again, we can argue about whether or not this is a tool, but I felt it was essential, and it certainly goes with tools.
Safety glasses.
Yes, and I even keep them in a case. They're very important. I don't share my safety glasses. I don't want to risk any weird, eye diseases or anything. I keep them clean. I keep them in a case. I keep them scratch-free. And it's funny because those who knew me as a kid their minds would be blown that safety equipment is so important to me because I was a very adventurous kid. But I probably have 10 or 12 pairs of safety glasses around the house and in my truck. And I have various forms of hearing protection, which is the next item on my list. And I have a few different styles of hearing protection. These are really nice because they are molded to go in my ear, and they have changeable capsules, and they actually have a flat frequency response. So pretty much what I hear is what the world sounds like, but just attenuated down about 17 dB. And I have different caps that have more attenuation, but then you start to have a non-linear loss. For example, high frequencies maybe are lost more than low frequencies, that sort of thing. Of course, some of those low frequencies, you're almost feeling more than hearing. But so there you go. It's a couple of PPE items. safety glasses, and hearing protection, both very important to me. I like seeing, and hearing is essential to my job. If I can no longer hear, I'm going to get a career change of some kind. So I guess speaking of hearing, and I trust my ears, but I, like they used to say, or maybe they still do, trust but verify. So a measurement mic. And this would be the equivalent. You could substitute this on your list for an RTA, a real-time analyzer, and or a dB meter, because to me, this is both. This plugs into the software that I use, which is smart. There's other good softwares you can use, Systune, that sort of thing. But a good measurement mic, and when calibrated, is a very accurate dB meter, and of course also gives me spectral information so that I can verify that what I'm hearing is real.
An important tool. Ben, we got a question about the earplugs.
Yes.
Is that something that NLFX, you guys sell hearing protection like that, or where did you get those? Or
we sell some musicians earplugs, but we don't sell ones that are custom molded. Okay. There are several places that do. I would probably start with your local audiologist, but there are a number of places, and I don't really have any one that I recommend over another. But me in particular. So here's a little known trivia about me for viewers. I have weird ear canals. There's new laser scanning technology where they'll scan your ear canal to make the molds, and I always have to tell them it's not going to work. It's not going to work, and they try and they try and they try, and finally they go back to the old school, which is kind of gross. But they squirt the stuff in your ear. Yeah. But that's how they have to do mine. I have weird shaped ear canals. I guess it's not the only weird thing about me, I suppose. And so once.
Oh, I got to make sure that gets to your wife.
Oh, she'll love it.
Only thing weird about me.
I said it's not the only weird thing about me. Anyway, so once you have those molds on file, then they can just replicate those. So if I lose these, God forbid, because they're expensive, I can get another set made and sent to me without having to do that again. Same with in-ear monitors. I can have those molds made for drivers, that sort of thing.
You're good to go. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
All right.
So, John was wondering about that.
We are cruising. We're only like 18 minutes in.
Yeah, we're doing well.
This one, if I had to narrow the list down to 5, this one would make the top 5.
Oh,
because it gives you so many answers and it solves so many questions, and that is a multimeter. And I even have a little tiny one in my backpack. It's a little pocket-sized one. It's in the outside pocket. But this one, is kind of my go-to, just a basic multimeter, and there are great ones. Fluke makes some of the best. We have some Fluke ones at the office. This one I fly with, so I'm a little more. It's only $100, but I'm a little more okay losing it if I have to. Mm-hmm. But even an inexpensive one will probably give you the most meaningful answers. It's not going to be as precise, but if your need for information isn't that precise, it will give you basic things like, is there power or isn't there power? Again, your needs may vary. Some of them monitor temperature. This one does, in fact, and others, I have my ones at the office will do capacitance. They're transistor checkers, that sort of thing, check both PNP and NPN. This one doesn't have transistor checker or capacitance, but it does have hertz, which is nice when I'm working internationally. I can see, is it 60 cycle or 50 cycle power, if that's important to me.
Will it allow you to test a flux capacitor?
It does have capacitance on it. I think I just said it didn't have capacitance. I meant to say transistor, but it does have capacitance tester on it. Yeah. Good. And it tests, amperes, temperature. Continuity tester is probably the thing I use the most. Mm-hmm. Because again, when you're in the field and you're fixing a problem, you start with the simple things. They're probably the problem, and you can eliminate them very quickly. if I have to start going in and testing individual component level stuff, like capacitance, I'm already deep into this thing. And of course, you have to remove many of those components from the circuit to test them accurately too. So at that point, you're getting the surgical capacitance, excuse me, continuity tester. Tell you right away, does this connect to that? Yes or no? Okay, moving on. So of some flavor or another, a multimeter.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
And
tool.
that took out quite a few guesses with that. So we've only got 2 valid guesses, or 2.
That's a top 5 item for
remaining
me,
guesses.
Let me tell you what, folks. I can't tell you how many times I have been in contact with one of you or one of your peers to try to troubleshoot a problem. Sometimes things go wrong at the worst possible time. And a warranty is great, but a warranty doesn't solve the issue in 5 minutes. So I'm on the phone saying, okay, how can I help you get through the show? Let's see if we can diagnose this and figure this out so that it doesn't involve sending a product in for repair and waiting. Let's see if we can get the show on the road, so to speak. The show must go on, right? Yep. And I am appalled and disheartened and disappointed and probably a lot of other big words when I ask if you have a multimeter and you say no. It's really hard for me to diagnose something over the phone when you can't even tell me if this connects to that. So I and we do sell multimeters, but you can get one anywhere. So let's see what is left. I think we are down to number 10. And then my 2 honorable mentions. So number 10 made the list just based on what I'm doing a lot of these days. And number 10 is an RF analyzer. And this one is an inexpensive pocket-sized one that lives in my laptop bag. It is not super accurate. It's not super well featured, but it's also not $10,000.
Sure.
So, and it also doesn't sit on a desk. It's good enough. It tells me, is there something there or isn't there? And then I typically will actually carry larger antennas and a cable that will go to them so I can get better readings. But of course, it has a little pocket antenna. This one tests both 2.4 gigahertz and most of the UHF range in that, call it 400 to 900. I think it'll actually go down to 240, but I'm really not that interested in anything down there. And so, this connects to my computer, but it also has a screen on it that will show us what's out there. If we can just fire it up real quick, and I'll only do the UHF side here real quick. And folks, you'll find out that in Bemidji, Minnesota, there ain't much there.
Wide open.
Something else is kind of fun is this antenna is telescoping, and you can change kind of how it receives different frequencies, by the length of the antenna. But anyway, there you can see it's tracking some things. And you can see there is not much there. But let's see, what am I at here? Yeah, 470 to 698. So not much going on. We have one TV station. Anyway, on a computer, it's a lot more detailed. Then I can have the software take care of things like logging, waterfall, heat map, sort of tracking what's happening over time. Are things popping up and going away? If they do, then they might pop back up. So I know to look a little bit more there, and it's just a USB connection to the computer. That rounded out number 10. But again, situationally, there's a lot of situations where I wouldn't need an RF analyzer and something else would be moved onto the list. So my toolbox, which has probably 40 or 50 tools in it anyway, not just 10, is evolving all the time.
What kind of a price would a analyzer like that run, ballpark?
Less than $200.
Okay.
They're not very expensive. And again, they're not perfect or, they're just kind of, they're good enough. They will tell you if things are there. They're not super sensitive, but it's good enough, for almost every application. And the best tool you have is the scan feature on your microphone. If it's got one, you probably don't need to go to that level. But, again, when I'm going into situations where I've got a lot of different, RF products, I've got to mix and match brands. I can't just hit scan. I've got, things all over the spectrum to be able to really pull down a sense of what's in the air and use that to validate database information and start planning for an RF coordination, it's really helpful. And then I've got another, more accurate one that's closer to $1,000 that I'll use when it gets, to a point where that matters,
So now when you're doing these football games or you're in these larger stadiums, is that where you use the larger one?
Sometimes, depends on, a lot of times I'll still just use the little one. National championship, yeah, I'll bring the bigger one. But even a tour, I can just use a little one. It's good enough. I don't really need to know the until you get into really high channel counts and you start talking about like slot frequencies where I'm trying to stick something between two TV channels that are adjacent. There still is that little bit of a guard band between those when you're getting a bit more surgical. Then yeah, I really need to know. But the little one's is good enough.
Okay, good to know. That's interesting. I would have not guessed that.
Well, the bigger one, the more expensive one, also is a rack mount unit, so it's harder to carry around. So this one, again, it just lives in my laptop bag, and it's always there on a moment's notice. I think we did this at your show.
Yep, you did. Yep.
And I think we were just playing, but pull it out. I think it was me and Lou. Actually, and I think he had one with him too. So we just wanted to play with our toys, but So that's our 10.
Okay. Now you said you had 2 honorable mentions, and then we still have the yet to be named one that should have been here, but wasn't brought in. So basically, it's the lost 11th.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we'll get to the
on
11th.
The honorable mention, number 1 is a voltage detector.
Oh, yeah.
Non-contact. There is no conductive parts here.
Love those.
Yep. So let's see if I can find a cord with some power on it here. Try to figure out how I'm going to get this on screen.
Even a USB.
Here's a cord.
Yeah,
the cord that has power. Well, I thought it had power.
It did until it unplugged itself.
So I don't have to actually touch something metallic.
Yeah,
it just says, "Hey, there's electricity running through that cord." So I can just kind of stick this on a cord or an outlet or something and say, is there power there? By the way, one of the years that I was in my continuing education for my electrical license, we were talking about testers as a class, and I brought up these, or somebody did. And the instructor said, "I hate those things. Too many false positives, blah, 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 blah." And I said, "I'll take a false positive over a false negative any day."
Any day. Yeah.
I'd rather find out the circuit really isn't live, because when you have wires running side by side in a conduit, you can get just enough inducted over that will believe there's voltage there. And there might be, but there's certainly not enough current to do anything. It's just that inducted across some adjacent wires. So this tells me proceed with caution. Mm-hmm. That's probably hot. At that point, I can dig in deeper and find out, is it really or isn't it really? But yeah, a false negative can end you.
Yeah, literally could.
That could be the last thing you ever do. So I'll take a false positive any day.
What I like about those little things is it'll even on a USB cable, it'll tell you there's electricity through just a little, what is that, a 5-volt signal or whatever it's sending through.
Yep.
Just incredible that it's like, oh, the power supply is dead, or the end of the wire must be
very sensitive. Some of them are very sensitive. Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, it's super handy.
Definitely.
I keep one in my laptop bag. I have one in my toolbox, but I also have one in my laptop bag.
And probably one in your nightstand too, but we don't want to go there.
What's that? I missed it.
And probably one of those in your nightstand, but we don't want to go there.
No, not one of those in my nightstand.
Yeah, just duct tape. Or the gaff tape.
Just the gaff tape and a Tesla book. And a Star Wars book. How many times you get to a place and something isn't working, and 9 times out of 10, it's not even maybe where I'm working, where I end up doing this. I'll be maybe speaking someplace, or I'll just be somewhere and I see somebody struggling with something, and you grab the thing out of the bag and you stick it over there and you go, "Oh, your outlet's dead." Oh, there you go. Problem solved. Mm-hmm. Or at least problem identified. So the last honorable mention, and it's honorable mention for 2 reasons, is our moat. our mother of all testers, which tests virtually everything.
Yep.
And it made the honorable mention list for two reasons. One, because with my continuity tester on my multimeter, I can do everything this can do, not as elegantly and not as efficiently. And it's really hard to get those probes into a pin on an HDMI cable, but I can do it. And two, sadly, these are out of stock right now. So we are working on a Mote version 2, which will be virtually identical, just a few tiny little housekeeping changes. And Mote version 2 will be here sometime this year. When? I don't know. Why? Because there's a pandemic going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody knows when anything is going to happen.
We can't even get cheeseburgers at Wendy's.
Oh, man.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you've got about a minute or so to put in your guess, and they're 30 seconds behind us, Ben.
Okay.
The Mote killed the last of the... That was the guess for many of us. I got to admit, I put my guess in the chat too, so that way they could see. We all guessed the Mote was going to be the bonus one. So the lost number 11. You guys can put your guesses in the chat quickly here to see if you can guess this. And we've had good guesses. You know, the gaff tape was a big one. The voltmeter and multimeter was another one. The Mote had the most votes of any of them. So now, what's your last vote here as we get ready?
So as you're doing that, if you don't have a Mote and you want one, and you do, let us know. We could put your name on one, no money down, because it's going to be a little while before we get them. I would say probably at least 3 or 4 months. But when they come in, I think there's going to be a bit of pent-up demand again. So if you want to put your name on a Mote, just let us know, and we'll be happy to do that for you. Mote, 2.0. It won't say 2.0. It won't look any different. One minor difference we're changing is the micro USB is going to be a USB-C now.
Oh, nice.
That's really the only physical exterior change anybody would notice. But we just felt like, in keeping with the times. So.
Yeah, and that is a big thing as with the new iPads and the new laptop. It's like, oh.
And they do come with a carry case. And they also come with test probes. So the Mote is also a continuity tester. It does do continuity tests on it. So
2 for 1.
Yeah. So anyway, but like I said, it'll be a while before we get one. So are we ready for the grand reveal?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're going to talk about one thing that I saw. I don't know if you posted it or Katie posted it. The clip to your chair backdrops, the green screen and the white backdrop for those who are doing Zoom calls and Zoom the podcast and such.
Yeah, I posted that.
Okay.
Very cool new thing.
Now, is it a green or the white, or is that? Kind of tell us a little bit about that.
It's both. It's double-sided. So one side is white. If you just want a white background, you don't want to, everybody to see what's going on behind you. You can do that, or it is green on the other side. So you can chroma key, green screen your video and put yourself on Mars or outer space or wherever. So kind of a nifty little deal. It just slips over the back of a chair, folds up, comes with a carry case. Just as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And kudos to Daniel, who's the inventor of this thing. He made a cool product, and we said, yeah, we're on board with that. So we've got a limited number of them coming in about 2 weeks, hopefully a little bit less, but again, pandemic.
Things going on.
So it's a pretty cool product. $79 delivered to your door. And that's the double-sided green screen thing that green screen, white screen. I think you could probably put a link down there, or people can contact me, or you know what? It's on our website, and it is called you're going to love this. It's called the Cam-A-Lot. So it's the Cam-A-Lot for you to use with your cam.
That's
I didn't think of that. I thought of the Mote. I can take credit for that, but I can't take credit for this.
Okay, so we're gonna put. Is the gentleman that's in the video? Is that you said Daniel?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to put that into the link there so you guys can see that, because it's, with all of us doing Zoom and such and in those calls, having a consistent background, and with Zoom, you can drop in a background and it'll look so much better than having the rough, grainy edges. So that is in the
Yeah,
chat.
well, and plus, some people are, I mean, somebody made the comment that they now know what every DJ in America's house looks like. And, sometimes things are going on behind you. You just don't want in a professional setting or a meeting or, it's just one of those things that allows you to control the environment a little bit.
For those times you need to, yes.
Yeah. And obviously people want that. So it's a pretty cool deal. Inexpensive and simple to use and folds up in a little storage case.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool deal. I'm pretty excited about it.
Excellent. Okay, so we have a couple more guesses that have come out. So I think it's time for us to reveal the lost number 11.
What are the guesses? Let's see.
We've got I've got a guess of a hammer or a striking tool.
Everything a hammer if you use it wrong.
That's and then somebody mentioned
these are never a hammer.
Not the $50 sidekick.
The cheap ones I have used as a hammer. These are never a hammer.
We have a guess. John's guessing a flashlight.
Oh, that's a good one. Boy, that's tough to be without.
Yeah, that was one. That was one I was actually thinking we would see in the process.
Boy, again, I'm rethinking my list. It's one of those things. We tell our install guys and our technicians the only tool you miss is the one you don't bring. And I promise you, if you don't bring a flashlight, you will miss it. Boy, but that is not it. So
John Jazz just gave us a great guess, and this could be it. Is number 11 is ice cream?
Yeah, it is. No,
that's the after.
That's after the tools. Yes,
that's the after tool.
No, boy, flashlight. That's a good one. I should have had that on here I'm pretty sure something would have left to leave a flashlight on the list, but. I will say there were a couple things that I didn't put on there because, like a flashlight, I have on my phone.
Yeah.
And I sort of thought, well, my phone is always with me. So does it count as a tool? I don't know. That's a toughie. Anyway, so no, this flashlight is not the one I had in mind.
Well, then what is?
Soldering iron.
Soldering iron.
And the reason it didn't make the top 10 is if you're soldering, you're in deep. Something has gone horrifically wrong. And I've had to do it. Create adapters on the fly or fix something but that's generally, I can usually live without it because I usually have spare gear or something where I could go. If it's that deep, I'm probably finding another way to fix it, or not use it. So, but it was honorable mention. Yeah, flashlight. That's good.
Yeah, it actually surprised me when we talked. We did this type of a show 2 years ago. After the show was over, and you had mentioned having a soldering iron for doing things in the field. I thought, no one does that. Well, maybe Ben does, but no one really does that. And the number of people who came in are like, yeah, there's numerous times that I'll fix an end on my XLR if it goes out at the show. Yeah, no problem. we got a half an hour before the show goes. It's like,
if you have a Platinum Series cable, you probably don't have to do that. Just saying.
There you go. Yes. After the tank drove over it 5 times,
right.
You still don't need to do it.
So I do have a soldering iron in my toolbox. That is one of the other tools that does go with me all the time. And again, it's really hard to pick 10 if you have to nail it down to 10, like Desert Island kind of style. And in all of our work boxes, of course, that go out, on tours and stuff, soldering irons and spare tips are essential. I even carry spare tips with me. So yeah, and I do have a hammer in there, and I have abundance of flashlights. So including head worn and handheld and
all those.
Yeah, those are all things that, again, if you made the list 20, it'd be easier. And if you made it 200, I could probably cover them all.
Still covering it.
TSA looks in my box and they're just like, what are you doing?
What are you going to do? You're going to take the plane apart? Come on now. You can't do that. There's rules against it.
You know what? That's not funny. That happened to one of our guys, and he was a sales guy, on top of it. He probably didn't even know how to use the tool, but it's not funny. Our salespeople are actually really good. They're great people who like to get their hands dirty, and get in there. Of course, Katie is in sales, but she also goes out and does gigs. So I'm just picking on him, But he had an Allen wrench, just a little 90-degree hex Allen wrench.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more blunt than an unsharpened pencil, and they took it away from him. And he said, and this was not smart, but that's what he said to TSA. He said, "What do you think I'm going to do? Take the plane apart?" And they said, "Are you? Step over here." I'm like, I'll see you at the gate, maybe.
Excuse me, cavity search time. Well,
He got it every time. I don't know what there was about this guy, just every time.
he had a
Every
gift.
time.
He had a gift.
I wouldn't stand by him in line.
You go 5 people ahead of me, please. Thank you.
No, and I mean, I tell you what, and he's, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, former Marine, I mean, and yet every time his number came up, they just, so I know, some people would say that's not what you would expect would be the stereotype to get profiled or to get pulled aside. Well, for him, it was every time you heard the snap of a nitrile glove and you knew his day just got worse.
He's about to make a new friend.
Yeah, he just had that look on his face and he just walked a little different by the time he got to the plane. So, he probably tried to smuggle an Allen wrench on board or something. I don't know.
Of all the things to.
Anyway, I don't know. Yeah, but.
Well, thank you guys for being with us tonight. We're going to wrap up the show. We'll be back in about 20 minutes tonight. Brian and Jay are going to be kind of talking about some of their influencers or people who have influenced them over their career as mobile entertainers. And they're going to kind of dig into that and share some of those people who have been that mentor and influencer to them. So, Ben, thanks much for sharing some of your tools and such. And next time we'll have to talk favorite battery tools. We do this.
Ooh, boy, and flying with batteries, with lithium-ion batteries, that's a show in and of itself.
That could be a fun one. That'll be one of them for down the road when we jump back into this. So once again, everybody, thank you for being with us tonight. We will catch you in about 20 minutes.